Hi everyone. So today I want us to look into different methods in which we can um, um, install Postgres on different like custom locations. So we're going to go through like four different methods of installing Postgres on custom location. That means that you will choose your own binary location. You will choose your own data directory location or your wall file location. So we're going to look into different ways in which we can get that done. So whichever way works for you and whichever way you think you can implement that, that's fine. So the first method which we want to look into is, let's say you want to run a YUM installation. That's the first method I want to look at. Let's say you want to run a YUM installation and you want to put it in a custom location. There are a couple of ways to do that, but one other simple way you can do that is um, let's just go right in. Let's say we create a sample location here, and for this demo, for the first one, we're going to install Postgres 12. So let's just say we have a location here called EPAS 12, and with this location, by default, when you install Postgres, by default, it usually goes to USR. It goes to USR EDB. So basically, what we're going to do here is for this, we're going to kind of trick the operating system by creating a symbolic link, and we are going to pass that EDB, and we're going to say EDB. Okay, so in this sense, what we're just doing here is we've created a symbolic link so that when by default is sending the files here, it will automatically just push it to slash epas 12. So if I cd into that location, which this one, EDB, this location does not exist for now. Let me see. Okay, it's basically empty right now. All right. So if we do ls minus l, well, let me go back one step and we do ls minus l here. You will see here that we have a symbolic link here with EDB pointing across over to this location. If you want to go with this method of symbolic link, that's fine. If not, continue as we go ahead on other methods of installation. Surely that one also work for you. So with this created now, the next thing we can do here is run a YUM installation. YUM install EDB uh, EDB-AS12 server -y. So this should run the installation of Postgres. A quick, just give a couple of seconds. That should be finished. And then when that is done, what we'll do is we will initialize Postgres, and we're going to initialize and start it up. And we're also going to create a custom data directory location and also a custom wall directory location. So let that one goes on to finish. That is done. Okay, now if we verify here, we'll see, okay, let's go back to uh, this location. If we list here, we'll see here that all our installation has been done into this location. So if we cd into AS12, we list this location, we see a binary location there, and cd there. You see these are all our Postgres binaries here. All right. So we could see here that our binaries are now in a custom location that we define. Okay, so these are private location which we define here. So let's go ahead and create a location for our data directory. In this case now, I'm going to call it, let me just say, uh, let me just create a location here, and let me say slash edb slash, let me just call it edb 12. This time it's going to be edb 12 data, and I'm going to give this to enterprise db. All right, enterprise db, and I'm going to hand this location to the user. And then always make sure that with Postgres, make sure that the data directory location is always, permissions are always set to 700. So when this is done, I will also go ahead and create another location for PG wall, right? Here I will call it PG wall, okay? And I will specify it for 12. Right, I want to make everything custom, different locations. Okay, here I'm going to give that to enterprise db. So we've created a custom data directory location. We also created a custom pg wall location, and we already have our binaries on a different location. Right, so let me just go ahead and change the password for enterprise db here quickly. And now I'm going to connect as enterprise DB, and I will have to cd to the binary location, okay, because I'm going to run init DB there. So if we run init DB, right, -help from here, we're going to see that we can actually use the -wall to uh, indicate the location of the PG wall location. So that is what we're going to do. So we're just going to run init db. We put -d, and we're going to specify our data directory location, which is right here, edb data. And next, we're going to specify the location for our wall files, so that this will now initialize and store our WAR files on that custom location here. Okay, so I think this should be good. So we have our data directory, we have our WAR file location, we can initialize. So it's initializing Postgres, and when that is done, good. Then at this point now, let's cd into our data directory. If we list the data directory, we could see that it just automatically created a symbolic link to that location, which we already mentioned there. So everything looking fine so far. The last thing we can do here is we can just go ahead and start up Postgres. Let's just go to a binary location. And anyway, let me just go ahead and export the path so that we don't just export the path here, path, and we can go ahead and start pjctl -d, and we specify the data directory that we want to start, and we say start. So good. So we've started up that, and we could see our server has been started, and we can connect to our server db. Let's connect using the enterprise db user. So we are able to connect to our server, and if we do show data directory, we could see there that we have a custom data directory as well. Okay, and remember, even if we go to where we have our PG or our WAR files, so we could also see there that our WAR files are in this location. Okay, So this is the first method you can use. From the here we have a binaries in a different location, a data directory on a non-default location, and our WAR files on a non-default location. So this is working fine. So the next method again, which I want us to look at is take for example that you don't want to use yum install as we just did. Let's say you have all the files to all the RPMs. You know, let's say you are provided with all the RPMs, all the installation files um, um, for your installation. All right. Um, let's let's check. I have a couple of files here. So I have some installation files here for EPAS 11. So what we've just installed here now is Postgres 12. So I have a couple of ones here now for um for EPAS 11 here. So now if I open up this, you see what I mean here. So let's say you have all these files. These are all installation files for Postgres 11, Advanced Server 11. Let's say you're provided with all of them. So how can we run the installation on a custom directory location? Now, uh, in this sense now, let's go ahead and create our custom directory location, okay? So I will want us to, first of all, create a custom directory location here. So let's say we have a different custom directory location and we call it pass 11, okay? And let's just say we call it pass 11. In this case, we just create that location. And also, um, so when we create this location, the next thing we can do here is we can copy up all these files that we have here, the files that you have been given, or let's say you're provided with these files, we can copy them into this custom directory location. All right. So what we're going to do here is we are going to CP these files. All right. So we're going to do that. So what I want to do here now is let me go back in here and I'm going to copy all these files and I'm going to send them to my custom directory location. And okay, okay. So let me cd into that location. So let's say this is our custom location and you have all these files here. Normally I wasn't supposed to kind of just copy it across, but if you just have them on the location where you want to install Postgres, that's fine. Now with this type, what you do here is you will need to run the rpm to cpo command, like rpm you put to cpo command, right? And then you will need to specify the first file and you pipe it to CPU and pipe it to CPU. Yeah, I think that should be it. Yes, you pipe it to CPU and IDMV. Now it's just gonna perform, just kind of extract everything and create those directories and place all the files in there. But now the only thing with this method is you have to run this for all the files, for all of them. Okay, which means you have to run it like this for the first file, you copy the second file, you put the same thing, you run it for the second file. It can take a little while. So what I've gone ahead to do already for all of these files is that I've already kind of placed them on all the files, placed those two commands in the beginning and the ending. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a script here and I call it vish install sh. So this note, this is just kind of a demo here. So what I've gone ahead is I've gone ahead and placed these on all the beginning of all the files, right? As you can see here, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm just going ahead to save this. So I've just put on all the files. So I have them in here. So what I will just do now is give execution privilege. For now, I'll just give 700, okay? It's just a demo. So I have now this script here. What I can do now is just to run this now to get that. So with that said, I can just run this, which will just expand everything and get everything up. It shouldn't take a while. It should be finished quite soon. Just a couple of seconds, and that should be done. Yeah. So it will just run that for all the files, and this is so it's done. So if we list this location, we're going to see that it created these three folders: the etc, usr, and the var location. So if we cd into the usr, right, we list it. We'll see the edb location. We see the into edb. We'll list it. We'll see the as11. CD into as11. We'll list it. We'll see our binary location. We see the into the bin. We list it. So we see all the Postgres binaries here. All right. So now we could see here that we have Postgres installed in this custom location. Now this is it's also good to know if let's say you have a different mount point, you want to put in a different mount point. It's also kind of it's also good. All right. So since we have Postgres 11 there already, so what we can go ahead now to do now is let's go ahead and create the data directory location for this. So I'm going to call it slash pg. Um, I'm just going to call it data 11, pg data 11. All right. Um, pg data 11. Let me just do it like this: pg11 slash data. All right. Oh, or I can call it AS11, Advanced Server 11 data. Okay, let me just create that. And let me change ownership to Enterprise DB. DB. Okay. And note again that we need to make it to be 700. The same thing before. That is done. So let's go ahead again and create that for the WAR files. Yeah. So as I just want to make it PG WAR. What can I call it? Let me just say, since this is 11, I'm just gonna call it PG WAR 11. Right? Just call it PG WAR 11. All right. And I'm gonna change that PG wall 11. I'm gonna give it to Enterprise DB. Okay, so that should be good for that. So, so the next thing is I will need to switch to user as Enterprise DB, and I will have to CD to my binary location here. Right. And what you will need to do as far as this method is concerned is that you will need to export the library location. All right. So let's just go ahead and export that. So let's export the library path. Library path. And if you don't export this library path, it won't work for this particular method. So I know we have a library path here. So we have a library path in the ocean. No, sorry. So where we installed Postgres, there is a library path in this location. All right. because I think I showed you guys that this is, you have a library path here. Okay, so that's the library path which I'm putting right here. So I'm gonna also call up the library default library path lib64, and what again? I think that's just gonna leave that there, and I'm just gonna export this library path. So when I export this library path, the next thing will be to run my initdb and specify the -d option, and I have my data directory, which is this, and I have my world directory. I think the world directory should be, oh, oh yeah, I just want to make sure that it should be -x, should be x something. Okay, yeah, capital X, or you just do PJWorld, right? Okay, so I'll specify my world directory, and I'll put it equals to, and this is my world location right here, right? So I think I should be good now, and run init. Okay, there are some times that you might find it will give you this error of this particular library not found. So the library is not found. Let's search for that. Let me open another tab right here, and let's look for that. Let me switch as root user, and over here I want to, oh, yeah, okay, let me search for this particular library. It's asking me for. So let me do a find here, and let me search for that library. Okay, so we have it on this path. We have one here, so we can just go ahead and use it. But you can always, if you already had Postgres enabled, so definitely you have that. So let's add that to the library path. So I'm just going to add that here. Okay, and I'm going to export that too as well. Okay, let me export that, and let me run my init again. So that is working now fine. So it initializing Postgres and populating the data directory with all the necessary files. So we're good now. So we have the second Postgres installation on this path. All right. So if we cd into this path, we should be able to also see that it has created a PG wall uh, symbolic link over there. So let's go ahead and start this up. But since we're using on the same server, we'll need to change the port over here. So let me vi the postgresql.com file, and let me search for port. And here I'm going to put 54. Let me do something that's going to be really different. Okay, I'm going to use 777. Okay, I'm going to save that. And right now I can go ahead and start up my cluster. Okay, so remember that we already have a binary location, so I want to use the pgctl of 11, which we, let me cd there, and I'm gonna call pgctl -d. I'm gonna specify my data directory location, and I'm gonna start up the cluster. Command not found. Let me see. So let me try this again. All right. So let me just copy that command here and pgct. I'm gonna put it there. Call it from the binary location to start. So now I'm able to start up the second Postgres at 11. The first one we did was 12, so this is 11 now. So let me connect to it. I'm going to specify the port 777 DEDB minus U enterprise DB. Okay, so this also needs us to call it up from the binary location as well. So just call it out from the binary. So since we have multiple binaries here already, so all right, now I'm connected to 11 here. So if I do show data directory, so you see that I have a custom location. So 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 this is how, if you want to go with this option, that works fine for you. That's also okay. The next method which I want us to look at right now is, let's say, let's take for example that you want to, you have uh, uh, um, the executable, the run executable, right? Let's say you're provided with a file, um, the .run file to install Postgres. Um, and you want to make sure that when you run it, like, what I mean by the .run file is just, you provided with a single Postgres installation file, which kind of, it's more of like an interactive installer. So which helps you to install, which kind of is, it's kind of really straightforward, but it's just a single interactive file, right? So let's say you provided with that file. For this demo, I have gone ahead um, to download it. You could actually go online and you go to the EDB website and you can just download that. Like for example, let's say it's Postgres 10. If you look here, you see interactive installer. So when you click on download, it's going to download that .run file. I've already gone ahead and I've done that for Postgres 10. And let me just show you here. So let me go to my uh, my download location, download location. Mm, okay. Let me exit from here and be as root. So let me see the into home, Benson slash downloads. So if I list here, I have the file, the .run file. So this .run file is a file which I just downloaded when I clicked here. It's an interactive installer. So let's say you have this single file, and this is for Postgres 10. Let's say you have this single file and you have to install Postgres, all right? And let's say you definitely you need to install Postgres on the custom location. So to run this file, basically first you need to make sure you give appropriate permissions, executable permissions for this file, all right? So I'm just going to go ahead and do that right away. And I'm just going to add executable on this file. All right. So added some executable on this file. So now let's say you want to run this file. For this one now, for this is Postgres 10. Okay. This is Postgres 10. So to run this, what you can do is if you do /edb, right, you put a run installer. Um, you can specify the mode here. You can specify the mode here. Oops, sorry. You can specify the mode to be on and unattended, right? But you can also, specify quite a couple of other things there. Um, Attended mode, you can do that. Or if you don't want to use unattended mode, you can just leave that, and then it will kind of ask you for a whole lot of different information that you will have to precise there. All right. So we can do that, and we can say let it be able to extract. Say yes, extract only. And say yes because that is what I want. And then prefix. Prefix, now you go to specify the installation path. All right. Um, in this case, let's specify an installation path of /opt. Let's change it this time. EDB, right? And we specify AS10 since we're running AS10. So you can run this. So let's go ahead and execute this and see what it gives us. So you see it's doing the extract only, and it's performing the extract here. So you will see it pop up like this. So let's just give it a couple of seconds, and that should um, finish up right really quick there. So it will just go ahead, create those directory locations that we specify. It will create the location, and as we could see there, everything is done, right? It's basically straightforward. So right now, if we cd into that location, where this location, and we list, we could see here that it did the installation already, right? And that was really quick too as well. So if we cd into the binary location here, right, we could see that these are all our Postgres 10 binaries. All right, these are Postgres 10 binaries in this location here. So this method also is also nice. It's also good. You can use, but you just need to download your run installer. And for some reason, you mostly see run installers for Postgres 10 and below. So okay, so that is that. And since we already have Postgres installed on this custom location now, this custom binary location where it's installed. So the next thing we can do here is we can just go ahead, create a data directory location, and we can go ahead and, initialize it. So here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a data location. I'm going to call it PG PG10/data, and I'm gonna give that to enterprise DB. Right, option, and then I'm gonna specify that to enterprise DB and the data directory location, and I'm gonna change the permission there to 700. That's good. So let me go ahead and create my PG wall. I'm going to just call it PG wall 10, okay, in this case. And I'm going to call this PG wall 10. Okay, now I have my binary location for 10, my data directory, and my PG wall. So now I need to go ahead and initialize Postgres. So that's that. So I can run my initdb and specify -d, specify my data directory location, and I specify my war directory, and I have my war directory right here. Okay, so I can go ahead and execute this. Please, okay, we need to be as enterprise DB. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna go because I'm enterprise DB and I need to CD to that particular data directory here. And I will just go ahead and execute this command here, right, to initialize. So that's going ahead to initialize Postgres on that custom directory location, right? WAR files and everything, just as we did before. Okay, so everything is looking good. So I can CD to, I can just go ahead and VI my PostgreSQL.com file and change the port and then start up the cluster. So let's search for port here. Sorry, should be port. So in this case, I'm going to change that to 8888. All right, just make it really look different. So that is done. Let me see where I am. Okay, I'm the binary location. So I can go ahead and start my cluster. All right. So we're gonna start the cluster. Okay, it says no. Okay, no problem. Let me start that again. Um, permission denied for which one are you talking about? Okay, so we have Postgres server 10, which is started now. It's running, and now we can connect to Postgres 10. So if we go to our data directory location as before, we're going to see that we have also the WAR files are sent to another location there as well. So if we go ahead and we start, we've already started it anyway, and we connect to it, right? We connect to it and we specify a port, which is 888, and then we're connected to our Postgres server. And note the reason why it's doing this is because of the 8 we had before. So if we want to get rid of this, it's just because it's calling the binaries of 12 to connect to 10. So what we can do is mention these binaries here and we connect this. All right. So we won't have that. All right. So we're connected there now, and with this, with the show data directory, we should be fine. All right. So we have our data directory on a custom location too as well. So that is a third option, which we have done so far. And so remember we started with Postgres, started with doing the yum install, the custom location. The second one is we had our RPMs, which we did it also the custom location. This third one is where we have our interactive installer file, the .run, and we also did that in a custom location. The last one which I want us to show, which I want to show us here is for us to use the for us to install Postgres using the using source code. Okay. So what we're going to look, as I already mentioned, so we're going to use source code now. And for all the installation we've done so far is we've just been installing enterprise edition of Postgres. So we've installed Postgres 11, Postgres 10, Postgres 12. So now again, what I want us to do here is install Postgres using source code. And in this case, we're going to be doing that for the community edition of Postgres. All right. And in that case, I want us to do Postgres 10 to as well, but this time it's community edition. So we're just going to exit. right? And I'm going to clear up the screen here. And before you run the installation before you start that installation, there are a couple of prerequisites. There's a couple of um, things that we need to do, a couple of packages that we need to install. Okay, so before we do that, we'll have to install these packages which are needed for for source code installation. All right, so I'm just going to run this. So it's going to take a second here to get that installed. So when that is done, so say yes. So when that is done, I'm going to download the source code tar file, right, from Postgres website. So you can go over to the Postgres official website and you can download the source code tar file. So what I'm going to do here is just to run the wget, and I'm going to just download that source code tar file. All right. So let's give a second for this to finish up here, and I think we should be good. All right. So that is done. So the next thing here, as I mentioned, is to download the source code tar file from Postgres official website. So I'm just going to do wget, and I'm going to pull that the Postgres 10 from there. So you can just run this. It will take a second to pull that up. When that is done, that should be done. Okay, if we list this location, we should see a tar file here. So what we have to do now is we just need to untar that file, all right? So we just need to untar this file, all right? So just run that, which will untar the file, and we'll be able to see the Postgres 10 directory. Okay, so that should be done now. So if we list this location, we should be able to see the Postgres 10 directory. So what I want us to do is to cd into this location, and if we list this location, now we see all the necessary files over here. Okay, we see the necessary files here. All right. Okay, so and we can do the .configure to see what parameters we have here. Let me just do configure uh, configure hyphen hub. So we have quite a lot of different options we can use. And those of you who know about PAM authentication, if you have to use that or LDAP, make sure that you're building it using these options. You might want to make sure you specify those options too as well. Quite a lot of different options here when you're using the build, using the source code. Sorry. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here now is we have to create a location where we want to perform this installation. Okay. So I'm just going to do mkdir. I'm going to put it in opt, and I'm going to call it, uh, let me just call it PostgreSQL. Let me just call it PostgreSQL 10. Let me say I want to install it here in PostgreSQL 10 location. So I just create that directory. And what I'm going to do is to run a configure, and I'm going to specify my prefix, which will be that location, which will be this location, which I have created here. Okay. So you run this now, it's going to perform that operation on this location. This is a location where we want to have our binaries installed. Okay. So I'm just going to run this command here, and it sometimes takes a while. It might takes it sometimes takes a while to finish, but I hope it just finish soon. Mm, might take a while, but not that really too much. So so when you run that and it's done, then you will need to start the build. All right. So until this finishes, well, then we start the build. All right. So let's just give it a couple of minutes here. And okay, that is done already. That's done. And when that is done, the next thing we can do is start the build. You run your make command. Okay, so you have to give it a couple of seconds to here as well. Can take a little while to run, but it should finish very soon. Okay, so this is the build process that is taking place right now. So after the build process is finished, we will now need to install PostgreSQL. All right. So we wait for the build to finish, then we can launch Postgres installation. All right. So sometimes the build might take a little while, but um, it should be done pretty soon. Okay. So we should be done here soon. Yeah, sometimes the build process can take a little longer, so you might want to grab some coffee and come back. So, but we should be done pretty soon. Okay, so we have our build process finished here successfully. So it says all PostgreSQL success, all of PostgreSQL successfully made. So now we're ready to install Postgres. So we're just gonna run make install here to install Postgres. So that shouldn't take us long. That should be done pretty soon too as well. Mhm. So when this is done, we will have to create the PostgreSQL, the Postgres user. So we'll have to add the Postgres user because it doesn't do that. So we're gonna do add Postgres, all right? And we're going to specify password for that Postgres user. That is done. So need to create a location for the data directory now, right? So we're just going to say, we're going to put it in PG. They just call it this time around /PG database /data, right? PG database. Yeah, they just call it PG database /data. Let me just do PG database 10 /data. Okay. Okay. Let me PG database is a data, and I'm gonna give that to Postgres, Postgres 2 as well, and just gonna specify that to Postgres. Okay, and the next thing is, let me also go ahead and create also um, the PG wall, PG wall. Um, so let me just say, I'm gonna call it PG wall Postgres QR10. Let me just call it PG wall Postgres QR10. Okay. PG wall Postgres QR10. So I will also change this to Postgres too as well. Okay, so that is done. So the next thing is we have to switch as a user Postgres. So we're back as a user Postgres. Now, if we look at our data directory where we created, where we just run the build, we list here, we'll see, the entire build and the installation of Postgres. We see all the required files in the binaries here. So this is our custom binary location installation directory. Okay. So what do we need to do next? So what we need to do now is to just go ahead and run an initdb. So I'm going to specify initdb, and I'm going to specify a data directory, which is what we created here. And we're going to specify the word directory, which we also created as well. And this is it here. Okay. And let's specify the user to be Postgres, right? A user which we specified here. And let it ask us for a password so that we can just kind of specify everything together. Okay, so run this. So it's going to ask us for the password. Let's give our password. Ask again, provide our password. So it's initializing Postgres, and that is done. Okay. Okay. So now we're done with that. So we can, if we go into our data directory location here, we could also see that it has created a symbolic link to our location. Okay. So let us vi the postgresql.com file and let's search for port. Okay. And this time around, I'm going to put it at 555. All right. So, okay. So with that said, I can let me go to the to my binary location, so that this is my binary location for my installation now, so that I can be able to start Postgres here. Okay. So what I want to do here, I don't want this log file, and just put this. So I'm able to going to start Postgres, and there we go. I've started it. So let me go ahead and log in. PSQL of PSQL -P 5555. -d edb -u Postgres. All right. So, oh, the database EDB does not exist. Sorry. So here I have to use Postgres as well because this is community edition. So now we're able to connect here, and if we do show data directory, uh, show data directory. Sorry, I make a mistake here. So we see our data directory right here. So this is how you can install Postgres using the source code. So we've seen four different methods, right? The first method is using, which we saw was using the yum. If you're doing a yum install, we actually install Postgres 12. If you're doing a yum install, how can you specify a custom location, both for your binaries, your data directory, your word directory, and we saw how we could do that. The second method was if we have the RPMs, right? In that case, we're installing Postgres 11. If we have the RPMs, how do we go about to install it on a custom location? And we saw how we could do that. Had a script where uh, I put all those RPM files, and I ran it. So then the third one, which we saw, was, let's say you have a run installer or the interactive installer file, and we saw how I ran that in unattended mode, and we got that installed and initialized, and we started Postgres server. This last method we just saw here is how we could install Postgres using the source code. So source code, basically we need to um, first of all install some prerequisites. We need to get the tar file from the PostgreSQL official website, and we need to start. We need to build, and then we installed, we initialize, and then we started Postgres. So whichever one works for you, it's all fine. And we're just using the default users, but note that you could also use different users too as well. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you have any queries. Thank you.